In the far future, the stars are full of life, and the galaxy is no longer empty. Many alien races now live across thousands of planets and moons. They have formed great empires and peaceful alliances and trading systems that span the stars. Among these alien races, one truth is shared by all. The truth is that humans are only a myth, just stories told to young ones when they misbehave or dream too big. Stories of tall, two-legged creatures who once ruled a part of the galaxy. They say humans fought great wars and built machines that could eat planets. They say humans had eyes like fire and voices like thunder. But then they vanished. No one knows how or why. So the stories became jokes. Just legends and tales. Aliens would laugh around campfires, saying things like "beware the humans" or "they will come eat your stars." The word human became a word of fantasy, a name with no meaning, no weight, just dust in the wind of history. On a quiet moon deep in the Nordic sector, there lived a young alien named Vecca. Vecca was a historian, but not a normal one. While most aliens studied current politics or trade records, Vecca searched for old things, forgotten things. He lived among old books, old symbols, old data from lost times. Vecca believed the past could speak if someone listened hard enough. But no one listened to Vecca. They called him strange, a fool, chasing shadows. Even his own teachers rolled their eyes when he spoke of ancient empires and missing species. But Vecca did not stop. One cold morning, while cleaning an old temple ruin on the edge of his moon, Vecca found something. It was buried under stone and dust and time. Small, metal, black like space, smooth like water, and it pulsed, just once, softly, as if it had waited for someone to find it. Vecca held the object with shaking hands. It was not alien, not like anything he had seen in the records. The shape was too clean, too perfect. There were symbols on it, but not Noric, not from any of the galactic languages. He scanned it into his translator. The device buzzed, struggled, then showed a word in Vecca's tongue. The word was human. His breath caught. The joke of children, the myth of fireside tales. And now the word was here, real, carved in metal. No one would believe him, but he had proof in his hands. He ran back to his lab, placed the device on a power grid, wired it to the ancient signal reader. It pulsed again, faster this time, then sent a signal, a quiet hum that grew louder. It reached beyond the moon, beyond the sector, into the stars. Vecca could not believe what he was seeing. He stared at the screen as the signal moved through space. It was a frequency long dead, a code not used by any known species, but still alive, still reaching, as if something out there had been waiting for someone, anyone, to remember. The lab lights dimmed. The air grew cold. The screen flickered, then went black. Silence filled the room. Heavy, deep. Vecca leaned in close, his heart pounding. Was this the end? Did he break it? Was it truly just an empty relic from a story? Then a light appeared, just one small dot on the screen. It blinked, and blinked again. Then the speakers buzzed, crackled. Static filled the room like whispers in the dark. Then a voice came, low, cold, full of memory and fire. A voice that spoke not to Vecca, but to the stars themselves. The voice said, "Humanity remembers." Vecca fell back in his chair. The words echoed in his mind. Humanity remembers. Not forgotten, not gone, not myth. The signal had been heard, and someone, somewhere, had answered. In that moment, the stars felt different. The galaxy was no longer just full of proud empires and peaceful trades. It now had a ghost, a shadow, a name that once made galaxies tremble and now whispered again across the void. The humans were not gone. They had simply waited. The halls of the Galactic Council shone with golden light as leaders from across the stars gathered once again to speak of power politics and peace. They came in robes of silk and armor of glass, their voices proud, their minds full of numbers, trade, and strength. From the towering Zarak of the core worlds to the soft-voiced Keshri of the water moons, they all sat on high seats that touched the edge of the dome above. Each race had its stories. Each one believed itself wise. Each one had forgotten. At the edge of the council's great table sat Vecca. He was not a leader, nor a warrior, nor even someone they noticed. He had no medals, no ships, no planets under his name. But he had a message, and he had fear in his eyes. Vecca stood and spoke. He told them of the artifact. He showed them the signal. He played the voice that answered from a void. The voice that said, "Humanity remembers." The council chamber was silent at first. Then came the laughter. The Zarak ambassador let out a deep snort, shaking his scaled head. The Keshri covered her mouth to hide her giggle. The tall insectoid Brocken made a noise like buzzing joy. Humans, they said, are you serious? That is a bedtime story. A shadow used to scare hatchlings. They called a prank. A trick. Some old echo bouncing through space. One counselor leaned forward and tapped the screen. He said, "This is probably a corrupted signal from an old war satellite." Another said maybe some primitive species found ancient tech and sent this to get attention. They all had reasons to laugh. But Vecca did not laugh. His voice was firm. He said this was not fake. He said the voice was clear and calm and aware. He said it felt like something had waited a long time and finally woke up. He begged them to listen, to prepare, to send a scout ship to trace the signal. The council chair spoke then. Her voice was calm and full of experience. She said the galaxy was vast, that many signals come and go, that it was not wise to waste resources chasing ghosts. She thanked Vecca for his passion and told him to rest. And still they laughed. But beyond their walls, in the black corners of space, something stirred. In Sector 12, a mining colony stopped sending reports. A trade convoy vanished without a word. Ships sent to find them returned empty, their crews silent, their eyes wide with terror. On the sixth day, a warning came. A single pod drifted into the orbit of a council world. Inside was one thing, a burned piece of alien metal. Carved into its surface were three words. "We are human." The laughter faded. Meetings were called. Eyes grew sharper. Ships were armed. Still many believed it was a message from pirates or rebels. Still they believed humans were not real. Still they thought it was a game. The council launched a mission. A fleet of scout ships sent deep into the stars. To trace the signal. To search for truth. To prove or disprove the legend. As they flew deeper, they found things. Ruins of unknown ships. Scars across moons. Signals that made no sense. It felt like something had passed through. Something that did not want to be seen, but left signs like teeth marks on the edge of a dream. Back at the council world, whispers grew. What if the stories were true? What if humans were not just tales, but exiles or warriors waiting in silence? What if they had watched for centuries hidden in the dark? Learning, building, remembering. Vecca returned to his home, his name now known, his voice no longer ignored. But he did not feel pride. He felt the cold edge of something coming. He studied the artifact again. This time it pulsed faster. And every night he dreamed of a sky full of burning stars, of black ships shaped like spears, of a voice that called his name from across the galaxy. One night he awoke to find his screen blinking. A message had arrived, not a voice, but an image. It showed Earth, or what was once Earth, a planet rebuilt, covered in machines, glowing with power, floating above it, an armada, dark, vast, silent, and beneath the image, a line of text. "You forgot us, but we did not forget you." Vecca sent the image to the council. This time they did not laugh. This time they listened. The chairs sat quiet. The ambassadors stared in silence. A message had come not from ghosts, but from warriors, from a force that remembered being forgotten, from a species that once ruled and now returned. The council called for action. They gathered fleets. They built shields. They trained pilots. They told the galaxy to stay calm, to remain united. But fear had already taken root. In the markets on the moons, people whispered. In the halls of empires, generals spoke in secret. In the dreams of leaders, the black ships floated always near. And somewhere in the dark, beyond the maps of the known galaxy, the armada waited, silent, still, watching, because the galaxy had laughed, and now the silence would laugh back. The stars above Colony Theta 6 blinked calmly, as if nothing had changed, as if space itself remained peaceful and silent as always. The colony was young, a mining outpost built on a rocky moon with a rich core and a growing trade route. Workers from 5 alien races lived there. They dug through metal veins. They sent minerals to ships. They sang in different tongues under artificial lights. They laughed, they danced, they made stories for their children. And then they vanished. The last message was a small report. All systems normal, or levels rising. Expecting a trade ship within 2 cycles. After that, silence. The Council sent a patrol ship to check. A fast cruiser with scanners and drones and 3 trained officers. When they arrived, they found no lights. No heat. No sound. Just silence, so deep it felt like gravity. The landing team stepped out. Their boots touched ash. Not rock. Ash. The buildings were gone. Melted. Crushed. Sliced clean through like paper touched by fire. No bodies. No signs of struggle. Only shadows burned into walls. And a symbol, carved into the landing pad. Not with tools, but with something far more precise. 3 letters from a long-dead language. HUM. Not a word. Just a beginning. Just a whisper. The officers returned with the footage. The Council watched in silence. And for the first time, they did not speak. Another colony went dark 2 days later. Then a fuel station. Then a long-haul ship with 500 on board. Gone. No wreckage. No distress call. No chance to escape. And every time, the same thing was left behind. A sign. A name. A message without sound. We are human. The Council called emergency meetings. They invited warlords, merchants, peacekeepers, and scientists. Every voice now wanted to be heard. Some shouted for peace. Some demanded war. Some wanted to run. Others wanted to hide. A few still said it was fake. A trick. An enemy trying to play on old legends. But deep inside, all of them knew. This was not a trick. This was history returning. And it was angry. In Sector 9, a military fleet was sent to stand guard. 10 ships strong, each one armed, each one ready. They never reported back. The scout drones sent after them found wreckage scattered across a cold asteroid field. Some of the metal had been folded, not crushed, folded like cloth. And in the center, floating alone, a single escape pod. Inside was the captain of the fleet. Alive, eyes wide, voice broken. He spoke just one phrase. They did not speak. They did not warn. They just came. He died before the pod reached the medical bay. The galaxy changed that day. The news spread fast. Worlds went quiet. Trade routes shut down. Fleets moved in patterns of fear, not power. Even the outer empires whispered the same word. Humans. No longer a joke. No longer a bedtime tale. Something had returned from the shadows. Not to talk. Not to ask. But to remind. Back in his lab, Vecca watched the reports. He mapped the locations. The pattern. He saw how each strike was clean. Fast. Surgical. As if someone knew exactly where to hit and when. He remembered old books. Old stories. Ancient tales of human war tactics. Of ghost fleets that moved through gravity like wind. Of machines that thought faster than any living mind. Of ships that could disappear. And reappear. And destroy. He asked himself, if these humans are still alive, if they truly remembered, then what did they want? Revenge? Justice? A warning? Or something worse? He opened the artifact again. The pulse was faster now. It glowed like a heartbeat. Not dead, not weak, but alive. The energy inside was changing, sending out new waves. Not random, not broken, but timed, measured, almost like a countdown. Vecca called the Council. He told them, the artifact is not just a signal. It is a key, or a beacon, and it is growing louder. They asked him what to do. He said, we must not ignore it. We must answer it. We must speak. But no one knew how to speak to legends. A plan was made. A signal was built, using ancient words. Based on the artifact, a message of peace, a message of respect, a message from the galaxy to the forgotten sons of Earth. It was sent into the stars, and the galaxy waited. For hours. Nothing. For days. Nothing. Then, a reply came. Not a voice. Not words. But a picture. It showed stars. Thousands of them. Each one marked. Labeled. Every one of them was a target. And under the map, a single phrase. This is not war. This is memory. The council fell silent. What do you do when the past returns not to ask, but to act? The galaxy had laughed once, but now it listened. And far away, in the cold, in the dark, a fleet moved again. Not fast, not slow, but certain, because the humans had remembered. And now, they would be remembered by all. The stars over Karen Drift blinked like cold eyes watching from a great distance. The patrol ship Nazari floated near the edge of the known map, far from trade routes and crowded systems. It was a lonely post manned by a crew of 4. They scanned for smugglers or pirates, sometimes drifting rocks or space beasts, nothing more. Until the shadows came. The first sign was silence. A mining relay that always buzzed once per cycle went quiet. The second sign was static, a repeating noise like breathing made of broken signals. The third sign was a shape. A long dark object passed near the edge of the Nazari's vision. No lights, no heat, just motion, and then it vanished. The crew reported it to Central Command. Command said nothing showed on the grid. No known ship in that sector. No lost cargo. No known threat. They were told to stay alert. Keep scanning. Watch the dark. Then a new signal came. It was not a warning, not a threat. It was a sound, a heartbeat, mechanical, slow, heavy. The engineer froze. The signal was ancient. It matched old war records, the kind buried deep in military vaults. Not just old, but forgotten. The captain called it in. No answer. They tried again. Still no answer. Then the stars around them disappeared. Not because of darkness, but because something blocked them. Hundreds of small black dots surrounded the ship. No lights, no words, just presence. The weapon system locked, but would not fire. The engines tried, but would not start. The screens flickered. The air turned thin. The ship began to turn, not by command, but by force. And then a message appeared on every screen. We remember silence. So now you will hear us. No shot was fired, no damage done. But when the ship returned, its crew did not speak. They simply sat with wide eyes and cold skin. They were alive, but something inside them had changed. Across the galaxy, similar stories grew. Ships vanishing, outposts erased, signals warped. Always the same pattern. No warning, no mercy, only memory. The Galactic Council called it an unknown threat. They did not yet say the word, but all knew it. Humans. Still. Some said no. Still. Some said it could not be. Still. Some said this was someone else. A new empire. A trick. A war in disguise. But the old ones knew. The oldest among them. Those who read the forbidden records. Whose teachers once whispered stories of the first wars. They knew the shape of the enemy. Because the humans were not ghosts. They were weapons. Made in the image of fear. Forged in pain. Perfected through war. Vecca returned to the Grand Hall. He brought with him new data, images from the edges of space, silhouettes of ships with sharp edges and glowing red cores, ships that matched only one record, one race, one myth. He showed them the symbols, the way they carved messages into dead metal. He spoke with a voice, the patterns, the silence that came before the storm, and the council listened, because now the pattern was clear. First came silence. Then came signs, then came shadows, and then came fire. But this time, the fire had not come yet. This time, something was different. Vecca believed the humans were waiting, not just attacking, but choosing, watching, measuring, and that meant there was still a chance. A small one, but real. He begged them to try again, to send a message, not of fear, not of pride, but of understanding. The council hesitated. Many still wished for weapons, for fleets, for shields and force. But Vecca asked, can you fight what you do not understand? Can you destroy what remembers more than you ever knew? Can you win against the storm you once caused? So they agreed. They built a beacon, a voice made of ancient words, of regret, of respect, of truth. It was sent across all frequencies, through every corner of space. We see you. We know you. We remember. We wish to speak. No reply came that day, or the next, or the one after that. But then the stars changed. In the outer rim, a telescope saw it first. A single ship, not large, not fast, but clear, human. It drifted toward neutral space. No weapons charged, no signal sent, just drifting. The council sent a small vessel. No guns, only diplomats. And Vecca, the meeting was short. The human ship did not open, did not speak, but it sent one file. A video, grainy, old, of alien leaders laughing, mocking stories of humans, calling them weak, calling them myths. And beneath the video, a final message. We are not myths. You forgot us, but we never forgot the sound of your laughter. Then the human ship turned and vanished into the dark, leaving behind no trail, no threat, just memory. And now, the council understood, because the ghosts from the dark were not ghosts at all. They were echoes, returning not with rage, but with reason, because memory is the sharpest blade, and silence is the oldest war. The skies above the rim fortress were clear, as always, with stars glittering like frozen fire in a black sea. The fortress floated above a gas giant, its surface covered in towers and defense cannons and shield arrays that pulsed like heartbeat. It was the pride of the galactic defense core, the last line between the known galaxy and the deep unknown. A place that had never fallen, never failed, never feared. Commanders stood in silence before their screens. They had seen the signs, heard the whispers, watched the signals grow louder. Now they waited. The council had sent orders. Do not fire unless attacked. Do not provoke. Observe and report. But the commanders knew what was coming. They had read the records. They had seen the footage. They had looked into the faces of survivors who did not speak. They were ready. Ships floated in formation. 10 in front, 30 behind. A wall of steel and shields and plasma. Then space began to bend. It did not break or tear. It simply twisted, like water pulled in reverse, like time turning around. And then they appeared. First came one, a single ship, black, silent, large but still as a statue. Its lights were red like burning eyes. Its surface smooth like glass and metal merged into one. Then came 10, then hundreds. They did not roar. They did not flash. They moved with silence and order, each one sliding into place as if the stars themselves had planned it. The human armada had arrived. The fortress scanners could not count them. The systems tried and failed. Some said 1,000. Others said more. No one knew, and not one human ship had powered its weapons. The council ordered peace. Send a signal. Speak first. Show calm. The fortress followed the command. A message was sent. We greet you. We respect your presence. We wish for peace. The human fleet gave no answer. Then the fortress lights flickered, not from attack, but from something else. A signal, a wave, not of power, but of memory. Every screen turned black. Every console played the same image. A child on a ruined world, sitting beside the body of an old man. Ash falling like snow. In the sky, a fleet leaving. No flag, no sound, just a message written in the dust. We remember being left behind. Then the message vanished. The fortress commander stepped forward. He tried again. We understand your pain. We are not those who hurt you. We want to rebuild together. Then the human fleet moved. Not all of them, just one ship. It glided forward, toward the fortress. No weapons charged, no shields raised. The fortress scanned it. Nothing showed. No life signs. No energy. But it moved. It came closer and closer until it stopped just outside the shield. A hatch opened. From it came a small object. It floated across the void, passed through the shield, and entered the hangar. The object landed. Soft. Silent. Troops surrounded it. Weapons aimed. No movement came. Vecca was called to examine it. He had seen this design in his dreams. In his research, in the old pages of forbidden history. It was a capsule, human design, ancient, but alive. He opened it. Inside was not a bomb, not a weapon, but a message, a voice, cold, measured, full of sorrow. You erased us. You mocked us. You left us in silence. Now we return not to destroy, but to be heard. The voice faded. The capsule shut, and then the human fleet turned away. Not a shot fired. Not a single mark left. But the fortress crew felt something had changed. The stars no longer felt safe. The shields no longer felt strong. Because they had seen the truth. This was not war. This was not revenge. This was remembrance. A storm does not hate the mountain. It simply moves through it. The armada vanished as suddenly as it had come. One moment there. The next. Gone. The galaxy held its breath. What now? What next? Was this the end? Or just the beginning? The council sent new orders. Prepare for all. Speak to all worlds. Tell the truth. The humans are real. They are awake. And they do not forget. On the outer edge of the maps, a new mark was made. It read, Region Unknown. Human fleet active. Vecca sat in silence, staring at the stars from his window. He no longer feared them. He respected them. He whispered a word. Once laughed at. Once buried. Now living again. Human. Far beyond the edge of the council's reach. Beyond the last trade lanes. Past the quiet satellites and the ancient wrecks drifting in silence. There was a system once marked as dead. Now it pulsed with new life. Old records called it soul. Once home to the myth called humanity. Once a cradle of fire and metal. Now it burned again with light. A science ship named Oravel drifted near its border. Sent by the council to observe. To listen. Not to speak. The crew of the Oravel watched in silence as their scanners came alive. Every planet was marked. Every moon observed. Satellites moved in patterns like a dance. But none responded to their presence. And then came Earth. Blue, white, green, but covered in rings of steel. Orbiting walls of weapons and satellites and machines unlike anything seen in living memory. The Oravel sent no signal. It simply listened, and that was enough. A beam of golden light touched the ship. Gentle, slow, but absolute. Inside their ship, every screen went dark. Then a single message appeared. A voice not mechanical, not angry, but full of weight, full of time. You watched us die. You watched us burn. You watched us vanish. And now you look again. The voice paused as if waiting, then continued. We do not seek your fear. We do not seek your pity. We only offer what you once denied us. A voice. On every screen in the Oravel. Images played. Old cities. Old wars. Human faces turned toward the sky. Children with wide eyes. Mothers with tired smiles. Soldiers in armor staring into endless night. Then came the silence. The long years. The ruins. The cold. And after that, the fire. Machines woke. People rebuilt. One by one they returned. Not to conquer, but to remember. A face appeared. Human. Worn. Wise. He said, This is Earth. You called us legend. You called us myth. But we were only waiting. We were building. And now we are ready to speak. The image faded. A data core was left behind. Full of records. History. Languages. Stories. The Oravel returned to the council. The data was shared. And everything changed. Vecca stood before the council once more. No longer a fool. Now a voice of truth. He presented the message. He translated the words. He spoke with the weight of knowledge. The council sat quiet. None laughed. None spoke. All listened. The message from Earth spread across the galaxy. Broadcast on every channel. Posted on every wall. Even whispered in alleys and markets and military rooms. We are not your enemy. We are not your masters. We are not your ghosts. We are the reminder that all things forgotten remember in time. Worlds began to change. Some opened their skies. Sent diplomats. Sent gifts. Sent peace. Others closed their gates. Raised their fleets. Prepared for war. But the humans did not come to claim. They did not send armies. They did not demand control. They sent messages. To every world touched by their history. They sent memories. A broken sword returned to the Brocken homeworld. An old treaty scroll sent to the Zarak archives. A photo, torn and faded, delivered to a colony that once betrayed them. And in every message, the same phrase: "We do not forget, but we offer peace." For the first time in galactic memory, the stars did not burn with war. They pulsed with something new, something fragile, something powerful: hope. Vecca stood beneath the stars. He looked up at the sky he once feared, and now saw a future shaped by those who came back from myth. Not to rule, but to remind. And far beyond, on a quiet moon orbiting a distant planet, a small child asked her teacher, "Are humans real?" The teacher smiled and answered, "They are more than real. They are history that woke up and taught the stars to listen again." The stars no longer whispered fear. They now echoed with stories, not of power or conquest, but of memory, across the galaxy, on ships and stations and planets old and new. Children sat beside their elders, listening to tales that were once denied, tales of humans, once thought to be dust, now known to be truth. In the Hall of Records on Yellern Prime, a new section was opened, labeled Human Archives. Inside were files, images, voices, gifts, artifacts sent from Earth and its colonies. One display held a small sphere of crystal. Inside flickered an image of a child holding a flag. Not a flag of war, but one of unity. Another display showed a helmet, burned, cracked, but strong, recovered from a battlefield older than any known empire. Vecca walked those halls with quiet steps, not as a historian searching for truth, but as a guardian of it. He had been the first to believe. Now he was the first to carry their words forward. He had spoken with humans. He had shared stories. He had listened to them describe the years of silence, the years of exile, the years spent rebuilding not just cities, but identity. The humans told him they were never truly gone, only hidden, only waiting, until the galaxy was ready to hear them again. They had watched the stars from afar, not with anger, but with patience, not with revenge, but with care. They had seen the laughter, heard the mockery, felt the cold distance of those who forgot. But still, they returned, not with fire, but with memory. A meeting was held on the neutral world of Eleron. There, for the first time in over 1,000 years, humans stood beside the council. The moment was silent, not from fear, but from awe. They wore no armor, carried no weapons. Their eyes were calm, their voices clear. "We are not here to judge," said the speaker. "We are not here to demand. We are here because we believe truth matters." The council listened. Worlds once proud and proud still, now stood humbled, not broken, but awakened. Old alliances were reforged, new treaties signed, old wounds slowly closed. Some worlds took longer to accept. Some still held fear. Some held guilt. But none could ignore the truth. Humanity had returned, not as conquerors, not as myths, but as a voice the galaxy had once silenced. And now that voice told stories of love, of loss, of survival, of hope. Vecca was asked to write the first official history book of humanity. He sat in a quiet room, surrounded by data, by voices, by memories. He wrote not in the voice of power, but in the voice of wonder. He told of the ruins, the silence, the first signal, the cold voice from the void. He told of the laughter, the doubt, the fear, the truth. And finally, he wrote of the Armada, not as a weapon, but as a question asked by a people forgotten, a question answered not by battle, but by listening. When the book was finished, it was sent to every school in the galaxy. It was read to children. It was taught to leaders. It was placed beside the oldest texts, and above the first page, a single sentence was written in every known language. "We are human. We remember, and we forgive." On a small hill outside the council's capital, a monument was built, shaped like an open hand reaching toward the sky. It held no flag, no symbol, only a name: humanity. Beneath it, visitors left messages, flowers, lights. Some came to honor, some came to apologize, Some came simply to understand. The stars changed, not in shape, but in meaning. They were no longer just destinations. They were stories, waiting to be told. And on one quiet evening, Vecca stood at the edge of a cliff, looking up at a sky full of stars. Beside him stood a human child, eyes bright, heart open. "Do you think they will laugh at us again?" the child asked. Vecca smiled. "Not if we keep telling the truth. Not if we keep listening." And in the sky above, far in the distance, a small black ship moved across the stars. Silent, steady, peaceful, not watching, but returning home. Because this was no longer the age of forgetting. This was the age of remembrance. And remembrance was stronger than fear.